I never imagined my life would take such a turn. My name is Greg, and I've been married to Lisa, my best friend and partner, for nearly 20 years. Our marriage was filled with love and trust, or so I believed. My job often takes me out of town, and last weekend was no different. I wasn't supposed to be back until Sunday night, but things slowed down at work, so I returned home a day early, hoping to surprise Lisa. We had planned a road trip to rekindle our connection, something we desperately needed after a busy summer. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed an unfamiliar truck parked there. A sense of dread washed over me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. My neighbor had mentioned a new truck recently, but I brushed it off as a mistake. Now, standing there, staring at this vehicle, I knew I had to investigate. I crept around the side of the house, my heart pounding in my chest, and peeked through the bedroom window. The scene inside shattered my world. Lisa and another man, both naked in our bed. I backed away, consumed by a mix of rage, heartbreak, and utter disbelief. I drove to our family's cabin, isolated and overwhelmed, drinking myself into oblivion to numb the pain. The next day, I planned to confront Lisa, but couldn't bring myself to face her. I returned to the cabin, wrestling with the urge to do something I'd regret. I knew this was a critical moment in my life, and my actions in the coming days would shape my future. Desperate and alone, I reached out to strangers online for advice, finding solace in their support and kind words. The overwhelming response from people sharing their experiences and offering advice was a glimmer of hope in my darkest hour. However, as the messages and comments poured in, I struggled to keep up. Despite the pain, I began looking towards the future, questioning whether my resilience was a calm before the storm or a sign of my strength. The signs of Lisa's betrayal were there, in hindsight. Late-night texts, frequent after-work drinks with friends, and supposed yoga sessions that didn't add up. I ignored these red flags, blinded by love and trust. Now, I faced the reality of my wife's infidelity and the shattering of our life together. When my brother Matt arrived, we had a long talk. He's always been my true best friend, offering support without judgment. I realized how much I needed that support now. I texted Lisa, explaining that I needed to go to one of our company's remote sites and wouldn't be able to call until the end of the weekend. She suggested taking her best friend on our planned trip, but I knew better. I canceled all reservations except for the romantic one, which Matt and I turned into a much-needed fishing trip. At the cabin, Matt and I spent the weekend fishing and talking, trying to make sense of everything. When we returned, his wife, Jen, revealed that she had followed Lisa and discovered more evidence of her affair. Confronted with this, I knew I had to end my marriage. I couldn't trust Lisa anymore, and her continued deceit only solidified my decision. Jen introduced me to Sharon, a counselor who helped me see the importance of confronting Lisa directly. Sharon's advice to seek clarity resonated with me, and I prepared for the difficult conversation ahead. I decided to stay at Matt's place for a while, needing distance and time to process everything. On the day of the confrontation, I checked to ensure Lisa was alone at home. I gathered my essentials, preparing for the worst. When I arrived, Lisa tried to act normal, but I demanded honesty. Her initial lies and evasions only fueled my anger. Eventually, she admitted to her affair, but only after I pressed her repeatedly. I left, unable to bear her trickle of confessions. I needed clarity and honesty, something Lisa seemed incapable of providing. I met with Sharon again, who reinforced the need for a decisive conversation. Returning home, I demanded the truth from Lisa, and she finally confessed everything, including the extent of her affair. This was a breaking point for me. Her betrayal was too deep, the trust too shattered. As she begged for forgiveness, offering everything from counseling to never leaving my side, I knew our marriage was beyond repair. I decided to move forward with a divorce, focusing on my future and rebuilding my life from the wreckage of our broken trust. Returning to the cabin after confronting Lisa felt like stepping into a void. I spent the night drinking, trying to drown my thoughts and emotions, but clarity came with the dawn. I needed to take control of the situation. The next day, I decided to involve legal professionals to understand my options and prepare for what lay ahead. The betrayal I faced demanded more than emotional coping. It required a plan. I met with Sharon again, and our session focused on processing the avalanche of emotions I was experiencing. Her calm demeanor and insightful questions helped me untangle the mess in my head. She emphasized the importance of self-care and clarity in decision-making. Sharon's guidance became a lifeline, steering me away from rash actions fueled by anger and towards a path of constructive resolution. That evening, I contacted a divorce lawyer. The conversation was sobering but necessary. The lawyer outlined the steps involved in the divorce process and the importance of documenting everything. I began compiling evidence, including the texts, photos, and any other proof of Lisa's affair. It was painful to gather, but I knew it was essential to protect myself legally. In the days that followed, I sought advice from trusted friends and family. Matt remained a pillar of support, always ready to listen and offer practical advice. Jen, too, was invaluable, using her detective skills to provide me with concrete evidence of Lisa's ongoing infidelity. Every piece of information I gathered confirmed what I already knew but helped strengthen my resolve. Lisa's behavior during this period was a roller coaster. One moment she was contrite and pleading for forgiveness, offering to do anything to repair our relationship. The next, she was defensive, trying to minimize her actions or shift the blame. It was emotionally exhausting, but each interaction only solidified my decision to move forward with the divorce. One particularly challenging day came when Lisa showed up unannounced at Matt's house. She was a mess, her face streaked with tears, and she begged me to come home and talk. I agreed, but only because I wanted to see if she would finally be honest. Her story shifted again, and while she admitted more details about her affair, it was clear she was still holding back. I confronted her with the evidence Jen had gathered, and Lisa's defenses crumbled. She admitted to multiple encounters with her affair partner, each revelation like another stab in the heart. I told her bluntly that our marriage was over. She begged for counseling, for another chance, but I couldn't see a way back from the betrayal. After that confrontation, I moved into temporary company housing. It was a small, nondescript apartment, but it provided the space I needed to think and plan. I continued to meet with Sharon, whose advice and support were invaluable. She helped me see that moving forward required more than just ending my marriage. It required rebuilding my sense of self and trust in others. At work, I threw myself into my projects, using the distraction to cope with the emotional turmoil. My colleagues noticed the change in me, but I kept the details private, only sharing them with those I trusted most. The routine of work provided a semblance of normalcy, but my thoughts often drifted back to the mess my personal life had become. Meanwhile, Lisa bombarded me with messages and calls, each one a mixture of apologies and desperate pleas. I responded sporadically, keeping the communication focused on practical matters like dividing our assets and arranging living arrangements. The emotional aspect was too raw and too painful to address directly. As days turned into weeks, the initial shock began to wear off, replaced by a steely determination to rebuild my life. I finalized arrangements with the lawyer, ensuring that I was protected financially and legally. The process was draining, but it gave me a sense of control over my future. Matt and Jen remained steadfast in their support, and their home became a refuge for me. We spent evenings talking about everything but the divorce, giving me a much-needed break from the constant churn of painful thoughts. Their presence reminded me that while my marriage was ending, my life was far from over. I also reconnected with old friends, people I had lost touch with over the years. Their support and encouragement were like a balm to my wounded soul. Slowly, I began to see a path forward, one that did not include Lisa, but was filled with possibilities for growth and new beginnings. The inciting incident had set off a chain reaction, propelling me into a future I hadn't anticipated but was slowly learning to embrace. Each step and each decision brought me closer to a life where I could rebuild trust, find happiness, and most importantly, rediscover myself. As the legal process began to unfold, I found myself grappling with a complex mix of emotions. Despite the clarity of my decision to divorce, memories of happier times with Lisa kept surfacing, challenging my resolve. Each memory was a reminder of the love and trust we once shared, and how it had all been shattered by her betrayal. Yet I knew I had to stay strong and focused on the future. One afternoon, while organizing my new living space, I came across an old photo album. Flipping through the pages, I saw pictures from our wedding day, vacations, and family gatherings. It was a poignant reminder of the life we had built together. For a moment, I felt a pang of nostalgia and doubt. But then, I remembered the pain of discovering her affair and the lies she had told. Those memories strengthened my resolve to move forward without her. Work became my sanctuary. I poured myself into my projects, often staying late to avoid returning to the empty apartment. My colleagues, noticing my dedication, began to rely on me more, which provided a welcome distraction. The satisfaction of completing tasks and meeting deadlines offered a sense of accomplishment that contrasted sharply with the chaos of my personal life. One evening, while at work, I received a call from Sharon. She suggested we meet for a session to discuss my progress and any lingering feelings of doubt or anger. I agreed, recognizing the need for ongoing support. During our session, Sharon encouraged me to focus on self-care and personal growth. She emphasized that while the divorce was a significant part of my life, it didn't define my future. As part of my healing process, I decided to revisit some old hobbies and interests that I had neglected over the years. I joined a local hiking group, rediscovering my love for nature and the outdoors. The physical activity and the camaraderie of the group provided a much-needed outlet for my stress and helped me rebuild my confidence. During one of our hikes, I met Emily, a friendly and outgoing woman with a passion for adventure. We quickly became friends, sharing stories and experiences as we trekked through the trails. Emily's positive energy was infectious, and she encouraged me to embrace new experiences and look forward to the future. As my friendship with Emily grew, so did my sense of self-worth. She never pried into my personal life, but her presence and support were invaluable. Our conversations often revolved around our shared interests, and she introduced me to new activities like rock climbing and kayaking. These adventures became a symbol of my journey toward healing and personal growth. Meanwhile, the divorce proceedings continued to progress. Lisa and I communicated through our lawyers, keeping interactions as civil and professional as possible. Dividing our assets and determining living arrangements were challenging, but I remained focused on ensuring a fair and equitable outcome. The process was emotionally draining, but each step brought me closer to closure. One weekend, Emily invited me to join her and some friends for a weekend camping trip. I was hesitant at first, unsure if I was ready for such a social outing, but she convinced me to give it a try. The trip turned out to be a transformative experience. Surrounded by nature and new friends, I felt a sense of peace and belonging that had eluded me for months. During a quiet moment by the campfire, Emily and I talked about life and our respective journeys. I confided in her about my divorce and the pain of betrayal. She listened without judgment, offering words of encouragement and understanding. Her empathy and kindness made me realize that opening up and trusting others again was possible. As the weeks passed, I continued to focus on rebuilding my life. I sought out new opportunities at work, taking on additional responsibilities and projects that challenged me. The recognition and respect I received from my colleagues boosted my confidence and reaffirmed my sense of purpose. My sessions with Sharon also played a crucial role in my healing process. She helped me navigate the emotional complexities of my situation, providing tools and strategies to manage my feelings. Her guidance was instrumental in helping me rebuild my sense of self and regain control over my life. Despite the progress I was making, there were still moments of doubt and sadness. Memories of Lisa and the life we had planned would resurface, triggering waves of grief and anger. But with each passing day, those moments became less frequent, and my resolve grew stronger. One day I received a letter from Lisa. In it, she apologized once again for her actions and expressed her regret for the pain she had caused. She asked for forgiveness and mentioned that she was seeking therapy to understand her behavior. The letter stirred a mix of emotions within me, but I knew that forgiveness, while important, didn't mean reconciliation. I wrote back to Lisa, acknowledging her apology but making it clear that our paths had diverged. I wished her well in her journey of self-discovery and healing, but reiterated my decision to move forward without her. It was a difficult letter to write, but it brought a sense of finality to our relationship. With the divorce nearing its conclusion, I began to feel a sense of liberation. The weight of betrayal and heartbreak was gradually lifting, replaced by a renewed sense of hope and possibility. I focused on the future, setting new goals and aspirations for myself. Through it all, the support of friends like Matt, Jen, and Emily, as well as the guidance of Sharon, had been invaluable. They helped me navigate the darkest moments and find the strength to rebuild my life. As I looked ahead, I realized that while the journey had been painful, it had also been a catalyst for personal growth and transformation. The rising action of my story was filled with challenges and setbacks, but it was also marked by moments of clarity and progress. Each step forward was a testament to my resilience and determination to create a new, fulfilling life. As the climax of my journey approached, I felt ready to face whatever lay ahead with confidence and hope. The day of the final confrontation with Lisa had arrived, and I felt a mix of anxiety and determination. It was time to bring closure to our marriage and face the reality of our situation. Sharon had helped me prepare for this moment, emphasizing the importance of staying calm and focused. I knew this conversation would be difficult, but both of us needed to move forward. We met at a neutral location, a small cafe in the neighboring town of Fairview. The familiar environment provided a sense of normalcy, though the tension between us was palpable. Lisa looked nervous, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and sadness. As we sat down, I took a deep breath, ready to begin the most important conversation of my life. "Lisa, we need to talk about the future," I began, my voice steady but firm. "Our marriage has been through a lot, and things can't go back to the way they were." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "Greg, I know I've hurt you deeply. I can't even begin to express how sorry I am. I wish I could take it all back. I appreciate your apology, but we both know that words can't change what happened," I replied. "We need to focus on what comes next. I've spoken to my lawyer and we need to finalize the divorce." Lisa's face crumpled and she started to cry. "I understand. I just want you to know that I'm trying to change. I've been seeing a therapist and working on my issues." "That's good to hear," I said, feeling a pang of sympathy. "I hope you find the clarity and healing you need. But for us, the trust is gone, and without it, there's no foundation to rebuild." We discussed the logistics of the divorce, dividing assets, arranging living situations, and handling legal matters. It was a painful but necessary conversation. Each topic brought up memories of our life together, but I stayed focused on the task at hand. Lisa seemed to accept the reality, though her sadness was evident. "I know this is hard for both of us," I said, trying to offer some comfort. "But this is the best way forward. We need to let go and start anew, separately." As we wrapped up the discussion, Lisa looked at me with a mix of regret and acceptance. "I hope you find happiness, Greg. You deserve it." "I wish the same for you, Lisa," I replied sincerely. "Take care of yourself." Leaving the cafe, I felt a sense of relief mixed with lingering sadness. The finality of our conversation marked the end of an era, but it also opened the door to new possibilities. I was ready to embrace the future, free from the shadows of betrayal. That evening, I returned to the cabin, seeking solace in the quiet and solitude. I sat by the fireplace, reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. The pain of Lisa's betrayal was still fresh, but I also felt a growing sense of hope. I had faced my demons and emerged stronger. The next day, I joined Emily and the hiking group for an adventure in the mountains. The crisp air and stunning vistas provided a perfect backdrop for my newfound sense of liberation. As we climbed higher, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders, replaced by a feeling of empowerment. At the summit, Emily and I sat on a rocky outcrop, taking in the breathtaking view. "I'm proud of you, Greg," she said, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. "You've come a long way." "Thanks, Emily," I replied, feeling a rush of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without the support of friends like you." We shared a moment of silence, letting the beauty of the landscape wash over us. It was a reminder that life, despite its challenges, held endless possibilities. The climb to the top mirrored my journey, difficult, but ultimately rewarding. Returning from the hike, I felt rejuvenated and ready to embrace the next chapter of my life. I continued to throw myself into work, finding satisfaction in the progress I was making. My colleagues noticed the change in me, commenting on my renewed energy and focus. One evening, Emily invited me to a small gathering at her place. It was a casual get-together with a few friends, filled with laughter and good conversation. As the night went on, I realized how far I had come since discovering Lisa's betrayal. I was surrounded by people who cared about me, and I felt a sense of belonging and acceptance. During a quiet moment, Emily pulled me aside. "Greg, I know this has been a tough journey for you, but I see a strength in you that's truly inspiring. You're not just surviving, you're thriving." Her words touched me deeply. "Thanks, Emily. Your support has meant more to me than you know." As the evening wound down, I felt a sense of peace that had been elusive for so long. The climax of my journey was not just the confrontation with Lisa, but the realization that I had the strength to rebuild my life. The support of friends like Emily, Matt, and Jen had been crucial, helping me navigate the darkest moments and find hope for the future. The next morning, I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. I was ready to finalize the divorce, close that chapter, and fully embrace the possibilities ahead. I contacted my lawyer, setting up the final meeting to sign the necessary documents. The day of the final meeting arrived, and I felt a mix of emotions, relief, sadness, and a sense of accomplishment. As I signed the papers, I knew that this was not just the end of my marriage, but the beginning of a new chapter. I was ready to move forward, armed with the lessons learned and the strength gained from this experience. Leaving the lawyer's office, I took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. The clouds were parting, revealing a bright, clear day. It felt symbolic of my journey from the storm of betrayal to the clear skies of a hopeful future. I decided to celebrate this milestone by visiting a nearby park. Walking through the lush greenery, I felt a sense of peace and contentment. The past months had been challenging, but I had emerged stronger and more resilient. As I sat on a bench watching the world go by, I realized that while Lisa's betrayal had shattered my world, it had also led me to discover a strength within myself that I never knew existed. I was ready to embrace the future, with all its uncertainties and possibilities. With the divorce finalized, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief and closure. The weight of the past months had been lifted, and I could finally focus on rebuilding my life without the constant shadow of betrayal. The next step was to create a new sense of normalcy and stability. My work continued to be a source of satisfaction and distraction. I took on more challenging projects, pushing myself to excel and grow in my career. The recognition and respect from my colleagues were encouraging, and I found myself enjoying the daily grind more than ever before. It was a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil I had endured, and it felt good to channel my energy into something productive. Emily remained a close friend and confidant. We continued our outdoor adventures, exploring new hiking trails and engaging in various activities like rock climbing and kayaking. Each outing was a reminder of the joy and freedom that came from embracing new experiences. Emily's unwavering support and positive outlook helped me stay focused on the future. One weekend, Emily and I decided to take a spontaneous trip to the coastal town of Seabrook. It was a small, charming town known for its picturesque beaches and vibrant local culture. The trip was a welcome escape, allowing me to unwind and enjoy the simple pleasures of life. We spent our days exploring the town, trying local delicacies, and relaxing on the beach. On the second evening, as we watched the sunset over the ocean, Emily turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Greg, have you ever thought about what's next for you? Beyond work and hiking, I mean?" I paused, considering her question. Honestly, I've been so focused on getting through the divorce and rebuilding my life that I haven't thought much about the long-term future. "Maybe it's time to start thinking about it," she suggested gently. "You've come a long way, and you deserve to find happiness and fulfillment in every aspect of your life." Her words resonated with me. It was true. I had been so caught up in the immediate aftermath of the divorce that I hadn't allowed myself to dream about the future. Sitting there, with the waves crashing in the background and the sky painted in hues of orange and pink, I realized that it was time to start planning for the next chapter of my life. Returning from Seabrook, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I decided to set new goals for myself, both personally and professionally. I enrolled in a few online courses to enhance my skills and expand my career prospects. I also started exploring new hobbies, such as photography and writing, activities that I had always been interested in but never had the time to pursue. As I immersed myself in these new endeavors, I began to feel a deeper sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. The pain of the past was gradually fading, replaced by the excitement of new possibilities. My relationship with Emily continued to grow, and while we remained just friends, her presence in my life was a constant source of encouragement and joy. One evening, as we were having dinner at a cozy restaurant in town, Emily brought up an idea that had been on her mind. "Greg, have you ever thought about sharing your story? I mean, you've been through so much, and your journey could inspire others who are going through similar situations." I considered her suggestion. "I've thought about it, but I'm not sure where to start. Writing about everything could be therapeutic, but it's also daunting." "Why not start small?" she encouraged. "You could write a blog or contribute to forums where people share their experiences. Your insights and lessons could help others find their way through difficult times." Her idea made sense. Writing about my journey could not only help others, but also provide me with a deeper sense of closure. That night, I started drafting my first blog post, recounting the events that had led to my divorce and the steps I had taken to rebuild my life. The process was cathartic, allowing me to reflect on my experiences and the growth I had achieved. The response to my blog was overwhelmingly positive. People from all walks of life reached out, sharing their own stories and expressing gratitude for the insights and encouragement I provided. It was humbling to realize that my journey could make a difference in the lives of others. Inspired by the feedback, I continued to write, delving deeper into various aspects of my experience, the emotional struggles, the practical challenges, and the moments of triumph. Each post was a step towards healing, not just for myself, but for those who read and connected with my story. As the weeks passed, I felt a growing sense of community and support. I received invitations to speak at local support groups and participate in online forums where I could share my journey and offer advice to those in need. These interactions reinforced the importance of connection and the power of shared experiences. Through it all, Emily remained by my side, offering encouragement and support. Our friendship had deepened into something truly special, built on mutual respect and understanding. While we both acknowledged the possibility of a romantic relationship in the future, we were content with the strong bond we shared. One evening, after a particularly fulfilling day at work and a productive writing session, I received a message from Lisa. She had seen my blog and wanted to reach out. Her message was heartfelt, expressing her regret for the pain she had caused and her appreciation for the growth and strength I had demonstrated. Reading her words, I felt a mix of emotions. While our paths had diverged, her acknowledgement of my journey and growth provided a sense of closure. I responded, thanking her for her message and wishing her well on her path to healing. The falling action of my story was marked by a sense of resolution and forward momentum. I had faced the darkest moments of my life and emerged stronger and more resilient. With the support of friends like Emily, the guidance of Sharon, and the encouragement of a community of readers, I rebuilt my life and found new purpose and fulfillment. As I looked ahead, I knew that the journey was far from over. There would be new challenges and opportunities, but I felt ready to face them with confidence and hope. The lessons I had learned and the strength I had gained would guide me, and I was excited to see where the future would lead. With each passing day, I felt more secure in the life I was building. The pain of Lisa's betrayal had lessened, replaced by a sense of accomplishment and growth. The journey had been arduous, but it had led me to a place of inner peace and newfound strength. I had learned to trust myself again and to open my heart to new possibilities. As my blog gained popularity, I received an invitation to share my story on a popular podcast. The host, Angela, had read my posts and believed that my experiences could inspire a broader audience. Nervous yet excited, I agreed to participate. The podcast recording was a cathartic experience, allowing me to articulate my journey and the lessons I had learned. Angela's thoughtful questions and empathetic approach made it easy to share my story. The episode aired a week later, and the response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from listeners who resonated with my journey, sharing their own stories of heartbreak and resilience. The outpouring of support and connection reaffirmed the importance of sharing our experiences. I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the community that had formed around my story. Inspired by the positive response, I decided to compile my blog posts into a book. The process of organizing and editing the material was challenging but rewarding. Emily, ever supportive, helped with the editing and offered valuable feedback. The project became a labor of love, a testament to the strength and resilience of the human spirit.